Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review and reaction for the Blacklist Season 10, Episode 14, The Nowhere Bride. If we know where the bride is, are they just now the Where Bride or the Everywhere? See, okay, listen. This episode, I gotta say, it had some very good moments. It had some moments that progressed the story forward.
Mhm.
I wanted something more out of the Nowhere Bride. I'm just throwing that out there right now. It was such a cool, creepy title, and then I watched it, I was like, oh, this is just kind of like every other Blacklister case that we've seen with just a better title than Ogden Greeley.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first time that I've seen this story. I'm sure some of you have seen this same story elsewhere. It wasn't that original. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think they're like 197 on the list. So, I mean, what are we expecting with it? But there was some good movement with, seeing Weecha again. That was really cool. And there was an actual conclusion to everything that was going on with Sia's story, which was shocking. It was just a couple episodes. She wanted to know about her adoption, what was going on, how it happened. She got all her answers, which I was just like, jaw on the floor, falling out of my seat. I'm like, I thought this was going to go on for the rest of the season, but it got wrapped up. He straight up gave her the answers.
I mean, we'll get more into it as the video goes on, but there was this part of me that's like, Reddington, you're actually capable of this? You can do this? You can actually give people exactly what it is that they want?
Listen, when it doesn't involve him or any of his secrets, he seems to be a little more giving.
Well, good for you, Reddington, I guess. But okay, well, before we do dive further into the Nowhere Bride, have you guys had a chance to dive into our Patreon yet? We've got a
Mhm.
link in the description below. Over there already, we have multiple exclusive Blacklist discussions,
Yep.
including all sorts of interesting chatter about end games, where characters could end up, notable spots on the Blacklist itself. There's a lot of great stuff over there, and we don't want you to miss out on any of that. So thank you so much for everybody who has supported us on Patreon.
Yes, thank you very much. We're going to have another Blacklist Patreon video coming up a little bit later this week as well.
Yeah, and so also just a reminder, there are 2 new episodes coming on Thursday. We will have a preview up very, very soon. Things are changing, things are moving very, very rapidly.
Yep, we're moving away from Sundays. We're moving over to Thursdays. So, in our preview, we'll sort of have a breakdown of everything that we know and everything that we're going to be doing here at the channel so you guys know when to expect these videos.
Okay, I'll just throw this out here to start this off. Did we get a hint as to Reddington's identity
Ooh.
within this episode? Because he did have this conversation with Sia, sort of close to the end, amidst everything that, we were already talking about with like her story being wrapped up. And he makes a real pointed comment about how he understands so much how someone, a parent, would go through anything to protect their child. Now, there are 2 different ways that you can read this.
Yep.
Number one, the show is trolling us. And they're just like, you know what? We know people are going to lose their minds over this. So we're just going to throw this in there. And really, Reddington could be speaking about anything. He's been around the block enough to know a lot of other parents will do anything to protect their children.
Nah, it's not that.
Okay, now it's either Reddington is Liz's father or Reddington is Liz's mother, which I think is the much more obvious conclusion to all of this. Now, I have said time and time again, I would love for Reddington to be the real Reddington. I am who I am, Pop by the Sailor Man. I
Yeah.
have no idea how that is possible, given everything that they have shown us over the past several years.
Listen, everything is possible on this show. We've seen all kinds of seemingly supernatural, strange things that are just don't make any sense, that just shouldn't be happening on the show, but it is. So, I mean, if they really wanted to make Reddington Katarina, they can do that. If they want to make Reddington the real Reddington, they can do that. They have switched around ages. They have switched around all kinds of information that we knew to be true, and it turned out to be something else because they felt like it. So, anything is possible.
The DNA on the bones is fake. Now, this feels like real tinfoil hat
All
material
right.
there. This
Yeah,
feels
it
like
is.
something that could actually be like on the local news with some guy who's just like shouting outside of a building.
Yep.
Okay, now I'm just throwing that out there because I know the show loves to bait all of us into thinking we're going to get a real answer soon.
Yeah, and I mean, we still don't know if we're gonna get like a real conclusive answer. I've said this a bunch of times. If we don't get just a very conclusive answer, and I know there's lots of you out there that feel that we already did, but when one of the showrunners is just like, you haven't really. And if I have my way, you'll get that answer and it will be very clear. I tend to believe that it's like they've alluded to all kinds of things, but it's not conclusive yet. And that, I really want to see that. But I if they don't give us that answer, I'm going to be really pissed. And I think there's going to be some other people that are also going to feel that way too. But what we did get a conclusive answer on is Sia. We got her story that Mira had grabbed her as a baby who was in a very dangerous situation, just ran with her and, faked these birth certificates, adoption papers. And that then makes sense to why Mira didn't tell her, because the documents that belong to Sia are not real. And if Sia knew that, there might be some problems with that. But if she believed that those documents were real, then she could just go forward as herself.
It's a story that I'm glad did not take the rest of this season, especially with the information that we now have. Like, Mira obviously loved her, cared about her deeply, was willing to take a very big risk in getting her in the first place.
And let Nigel die for it.
Clearly, Mira is a person with a very particular principle that has been exercised now. And I do think there's probably a part of people out there that are just sort of like, okay, Reddington, let's have a talk here. You knew all this whole time, and you're just like fiddling around with the check and the garage sale and having her do this whole scavenger hunt. But this is signature Raymond Reddington, what goes on here, because I think he knows he's a criminal mastermind. He doesn't know Sia all that well. Sia probably is not inclined to trust him. He has to give her just enough to show her that what he is saying is going to be true, so that when he says it, she will believe it. And that is the whole message behind her having to run around and do these interviews and get on the plane to Florida, I guess Cuba, then Florida, and just to do all of this.
Yeah, I mean, she asked him very plainly, why can't you just tell me? And he did say, some stories need to be discovered. You need to see some of the stuff for yourself, get enough of the moving parts together, and then we can sit down and I'll fill in all the missing blanks that you're not going to be able to get. Because Mira's gone, Nigel's gone, there's nobody really left that knows what this story is, which is, the truth of it all. She wasn't really going to be able to figure a lot of this out without him filling in the blanks. And it was nice and relieving in a lot of ways to just see him sit down and just fill it all in and just be like, here it all is. I was like, we couldn't have got there with Liz. I know it's a different situation because it's his secrets, but just the same, it was very satisfying.
I find the relationship and the dynamic between Sia and Reddington to be really satisfying. Like,
so good.
Yeah, like I really like the two of them. They have a fun sort of back and forth. I do question a certain amount of, Sia's employment future, when like her job description here is she's supposed to be like tailing Reddington and watching it, and she's just like chilling in his kitchen, and like he is clearly just corrupting her and doing whatever he wants to ensure he can get what he wants out of her.
Yeah, their relationship is changing. And, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think that by the end of this series that they may be companions. And I'm not saying in a romantic way or anything like that. It just feels like their relationship is building into something that is very comfortable. They really like each other. There's a respect there. They've now shared this huge bond where he's told her the truth. He sat down with her. She knows everything about her mom, everything her mom went through. He's the person that brought her that. There's an unbreakable bond now that isn't just work relationship anymore. I think they're bonded in a way for life. And I think in a lot of ways, Reddington is sort of feeling her as well as almost an adoptive daughter as well, someone that he feels to take under his wing. And I'm not saying teach her the criminal empire, because I think he's at the end of that. There's a reason why he's not bringing any more cases to the task force. And Harold's like, where are the cases? We're going to get shut down. What is going on? I think Sia, now that she has her answers, she doesn't, I'm not saying she doesn't need to be an agent anymore, but that's why she became an agent. Now she has her answers. She's bonding with Reddington. Could that be sort of part of the end of this all? Like, their relationship is changing.
Yeah, I think there's a genuine chance that something like that is going to happen. I mean, she's willing to, you know, listen to his stories. She's willing to, chill out with him. I love when
Be his muscle.
I love that so much. He's just like, just stand over there and look intimidating. Like, she goes along with a lot of this stuff and a lot of his hijinks, but
and she's excited about it too.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw at the beginning of this episode where she sat down, she's like, what adventures do we have today? Where are we going? What are we doing? Like, she is in there.
Yeah, I think she's clearly
invested.
We don't know a ton about her backstory other than just, her mother and where we found her in the premiere, but clearly this is not somebody who is just like striving for a desk job in the FBI. Like, she wants to be a part of the action. She wants to be out there watching Reddington run down the street with the saber. It's like she enjoys this perhaps more than she's even willing to let on.
Absolutely 100%.
Okay, so since we're already at this point now where we're talking about Sia standing there and looking intimidating, let's talk about they go down to Cuba. They have this meeting with, like, this, we can just call them this boss of their own criminal empire.
Yeah.
And, there were rumors and sort of speculation out there that's like, okay, we might be seeing Weecha in this episode. This is honestly not how I expected to see her. It's sort of like you went from working with Raymond Reddington, the greatest criminal mastermind of all time. Now you're just like working for this stooge. Like, why am I supposed to be intimidated by him? There's got to be better work out there for you than this, Weecha.
Maybe, or maybe this is the work that she could get. I mean, the scene where they're alone and she's just like, listen, like, I need to work. I got to keep working. My job is not done, sort of thing. And, you're not doing anything. I'm not working for you anymore. Like, what kind of did you expect me to do?
Why did you just keep her on board, Reddington? I know Mirza wasn't that happy with you at the end of last season, but, like, she's not really that much safer working this job, seemingly.
Okay, let's talk about the kiss. We are far enough in now where it was very divided online, on social media, people talking about whether they were team kiss or not team kiss. And I would just like to remind everybody that when we first met Weecha, there was something alluded to that was going on with them, that she was, every morning he would wake up and she would be in undress or shaving her legs, or there was something that was happening there when they first started all of this. They alluded to it multiple times. So to see them come together and share this kiss, I don't think it was necessarily romantic like it may have been, but it was very clear to me that there was some kind of romantic relationship at some point. And now it's more of a, I miss you. Like, I miss being around you. I miss your energy, you in your entirety. I miss you. And having her say the same thing, I miss you too. But, we are where we are right now.
Also, Reddington just likes to kiss people.
He absolutely does, but not like that always.
It's a situation where he clearly has affection for her, and but he kisses people for different reasons. Yeah, like you kind of suggested. Like he kissed like the fake Katarina. Like, let's not forget about that. I
all right, are you team kiss or no?
I'm team kiss. Like, I'll throw this.
I thought it was great. I thought the scene came together nice.
Yeah, I think the scene came together nice. I didn't mind it because it's also just the situation where, like, I'm not sitting here and thinking that, okay, Reddington is going to end this show by going off and, settling down with Weecha somewhere. It's just, I don't think that's the direction of this. I think we've seen, like, a couple of, like, very genuine, long-lasting, pure romantic love for this character. Like, Anne is the one that just stands out to me the most because I don't know, the chemistry that was there was just, like, on another level. I think he loves Weecha. I think he cares about Weecha. I think at the same time, This was also a kiss of longing. This is the
Mhm.
kiss of, I miss you. I miss being around you. I miss everything that we had. If we can sort of encapsulate all of that into like one little moment, what was it? And so it delivered for me. I know that in the real world, a lot of people would be like, "Well, she's Mira's sister," and all that's like. The Blacklist is not the real world. There's some weird stuff going on here, like you said.
Yeah, there is, and like I've said, they've alluded to them having some sort of romantic entanglements in the past when she first came on the scene. Yes, as well with the sister, but this is Raymond Reddington, and his love is for everybody seemingly because he does kiss a lot of people. But okay, let's talk briefly here about the task force because Harold knows that Hudson is coming after him.
Yeah,
He knows that he's got help, and he's like very honest with everyone. Is kind of like, we're a task force without an informant. Like if they keep digging into this, Reddington has wiped his existence. So we just look like a task force that has no asset, that is bringing us no cases. What are we doing here? And he's right. They are just sort of like a rudderless boat. They're getting cases from Charlene now. Like they really are kind of, stuck.
I'm very excited for the newly announced spinoff. Okay, it's not new, but it's not real. The Charlene list, where
All
Charlene
right.
just tells them various cases to go. Like, there's a part of this that is kind of ridiculous, where it's like, okay, we haven't shown Charlene like really the entirety of this season. It would have been nice to get something with like Charlene and Agnes
Yeah, I
thrown in
agree.
here, but like, okay. We're going to remind everyone that Harold does, in fact, still have a wife, that she is still a living, breathing person. But how are we going to include her in a way that makes sense? Oh, we're just going to throw this random case of the week in here to make it seem like the show still has this procedural element. We can all be happy with it, which, to be honest, I would have rather just spent like the whole hour following Reddington and Sia because this case just really didn't do it for me.
No, like I said at the beginning of this video, I've seen this before on other shows. This isn't a new concept, and they didn't really bring anything new to the table with this case. Like it felt like something I've already seen a few times.
And I think if you're gonna do a case like this, you have to give some of the supporting characters like a couple of real moments to sort of stand out or provide some sort of insight or give us like some fun sort of individual scenes. And I think, Herbie could have been a vessel to give us some of this because he's kind of a light-hearted character,
Yeah, he
but
is.
they didn't really use him in that capacity in this episode. He's mostly just there to talk to Sia, seemingly, and that's kind of it. It's just like if we go back to Aram, and I'm not trying to just compare Herbie to Aram because that's not fair to Herbie because Aram is amazing and is unparalleled, but like you always had like these fun little moments with Aram and a lot of these cases like this, and it helped Wrestler to open up. It helped Dembe to open up, and it's just like now we're just like the serious grunt club and everybody is just like, I must go and do this job. Let me interview you and ask you serious questions.
Well, I think part of the problem is we are getting blacklisters that are like 197 at the end of the list here that just kind of don't matter. And even just when Harold was coming to them with this case where it's like, where'd you get this case from? Well, Reddington's not bringing us anything. So now it's, Charlene is feeding us some cases. It's a missing husband. And even Wrestler's like, this is what we're doing now. And I'm like, yeah, Wrestler, this is what you're doing now. Like how is it? It just feels like the task force is kind of forgotten and just like left to the side.
All right, so before we do wrap this video up, I will present a Weecha theory that's not even really that daring of a theory. I will say this.
Tinfoil hat. All
I've
right, here we
I've
go.
had more insane theories than this, but Weecha's obviously going to come back. I do not think this is the only time we are going to see her this season. And what I think it is it's the magic of the Reddington kiss. Now that this has happened, she's just going to be like, I miss this. I don't want to keep working for these people, and she's going to find her way back. I'm not necessarily being like, oh, we will see her in the rest of the season or anything, but I can easily see her coming back to Reddington and being just like, let's give this arrangement another go. What say you? You're way better than this other employer who sucks.
All right, everybody put on your hard hats
Okay.
because I would love that to be The end, it sounds wonderful. However, I think that was a kiss of goodbye. Yes, they miss each other. Yes, they wish that it could have been different, but I didn't see it sort of on her face in any kind of way that she was like, "Oh man, I really messed up. I really want to go back." Like as soon as her boss came back out, she was right back in work mode. She's a dedicated person to whoever it is that she's working for. So unless the person she's working for ends up dead, which is possible,
Yeah.
I can't see her leaving, and I can't see them letting her leave to go back to be with Reddington. For why? He's not really running a criminal empire anymore. He's paring down. He's kind of wrapping up his loose ends. It feels like he's moving towards that regular life where he just, picks somewhere in the world, throws a dart at the dartboard and is like, I want to live in here. And then just goes there and has sort of this life that he had when he was with Anne, which is, you're playing cards, you're having some cake, you're having some people over, having a few drinks, laughs, just something that's a little more regular. And I don't think that Weecha's part of that.
You do make a good point about these other people probably not letting her leave. I was
No, they're not gonna let her
like,
leave.
he can drive up a truck of money, but it's like, I don't know if these other people will really care.
She knows
about
too
that.
much. No, it's not happening. She's not gonna be able to just leave.
All right. Well, like we said earlier, we will be back to preview what is coming up on episode 15 and 16.
Yes, that preview is coming up today, just so you guys know. Normally we do, have a day or two in between our review and our preview. But with both of these episodes coming up on Thursday, stay tuned. It's going to be up just a little bit later.
All right.
Today.
Well, check out our Patreon, see all of our exclusive Blacklist discussions. Like Jess mentioned, we will have another one there later in the week.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much who are supporting us on Patreon, and we will see you here next time.